Hi everyone, welcome to the second webinar of a series of webinars conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming operational case study examinations happening in May 2023. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. So first things first, let me tell you the content of this session. This session is dedicated towards the pre-scene analysis. So first things first, I'm gonna highlight as to what you need to do when it comes to bringing in information from the pre-scene or when it comes to pre-scene application. Then in the second part of tonight's webinar, I'll be taking you through an industry analysis, not in its entirety, but partially. And on top of that, I'll be taking you through the first part of the pre-scene analysis. As I've told you in webinar number one, there are 4 videos in total, which covers the entire pre-scene. So the first video will be dedicated towards highlighting the company operations. In the second video, I'll be taking you through the industry dynamics. In the third video, I'll be highlighting the company operations, thereby explaining what happens within different departments of the organization. And in the fourth and final video, I'll be conducting a financial analysis based on the financial analysis slides which I've prepared, based on or depending on the financial statements provided by the examiner via the pre-scene. So out of the 4 videos, only the first video is done via the free webinar series. You can get your hands on the other 3 videos under paid content. So having said that, let's look at the schedule of the upcoming webinars. So you are you are attending the second webinar where I'll be conducting a pre-scene analysis. And next Saturday, on the 1st of April, an important and extremely important webinar is happening, which is answering technique. In the third webinar, I'll be highlighting what you need to do when it comes to developing answers, because as per my experience, most students end up failing the OCS exam because they do not know how to manage their time. That's the biggest problem, because most students run out of time. And when you run out of time, you'd end up providing a half-hearted answer. You'd be rushing through during the last 5 to 10 minutes. So in such a context, your chances of passing the exam is extremely low. And on top of that, most students do not know how to structure the answers, or most students do not think or spend enough time to think before developing an answer. So what most individuals would do is they'd read the question and straight away they'd start typing the answer, and halfway through they'd realize that they are headed in the wrong direction, or they are not fulfilling the requirements which are highlighted in the question. So they end up deleting the answer, and they'll try to type the answer from scratch again, thereby wasting a lot of time. Then panic sets in, because you know for a fact that you had wasted time. So once you panic, you cannot come up with a high quality answer, and you run out of time as well. So with all these shortcomings, you can never pass a tough exam such as the OCS exam. It's better to stick to the answer planning technique, which we will highlight on our third webinar. It's out of the 4 webinars, the most important is the answering technique webinar. I want you guys to join it next Saturday. And in the 4th and final webinar, which is happening on the 16th of April, which is a Sunday, I'll be telling you what you need to do when it comes to preparing for your examination. So I'll be highlighting the examiner's comments, because it's of utmost importance that you understand the psychology as well as the requirements of the examiner. That's the only way to ensure that you come up with high quality answers which are aligned with the requirements stipulated by the CIMA examiner. So I'll be taking you through multiple comments made by the CIMA examiner. And on top of that, I'll be also highlighting what you need to do to develop confidence both before the exam as well as whilst you are attempting the examination. And on top of that, um, um, if you had failed the exam previously, I'll be highlighting what you need to do to overcome failures or overcome shortcomings. I'll be highlighting, the most common shortcomings of students, and for each shortcoming, I'll be providing solutions. So that's about what is to come. So I want you guys to attend the third webinar as well. All right, so let's look into the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to this webinar. So first things first, I'm going to talk about Preseen application. What is the right approach? So you need to know your key information when it comes to preparing for your OCS examination. So for example, Tracks Europe sells 9 different tractors. So this time's Preseen is based on a tractor manufacturing company, and the name of the company is Tracks Europe, and this company is selling 9 different tractors. So this is the type of information which you need to remember. Okay, and you need to conduct a ratio analysis, thereby remembering the key ratios. Okay, absolutely nothing to worry in this area, because we have prepared a set of slides for financial analysis or covering financial analysis. So after you go through these slides, and on top of that, after you go through the 4th Preseen analysis video, you'd understand everything about the financial performance of Tracks Europe. There's nothing else which you need to go through. And you need to prepare for possible scenarios, but be open-minded. This is of utmost importance. Why am I saying this? Because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real-life company or a real-life corporate environment in your exam. So you are supposed to play the role of a finance officer who is at the lowest level of the organization. You are involved with day-to-day running of the company. You are reporting to your finance manager. You are supposed to be involved with, providing your opinions whenever your opinion is requested for. And on top of that, you are involved with short-term decision making. Okay, so in such a context, as I told you earlier, the CIMA examiner is trying to create a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, if you are to excel, you need to be open-minded. If you are to think straight, you need to be open-minded. Okay, so you need to have the same type of mentality at your exam as well, because there's absolutely no point of trying to memorize exam scenarios or memorize questions and try to have a plan about the type of answers you are going to provide. Absolutely, there's absolutely no point of doing it. You need to be open-minded before the exam as well as during the exam. And remember that the scenario which is presented in the exam carries latest information. So through the Preseen document, the examiner is giving you information about what has happened within Tracks Europe in the past. So the examiner is talking about the history of the company, the type of leadership within the organization, then what happens within different types of departments, what happens within the sales department, production department, then IT department and whatnot, what happens within the finance department, all these information. And on top of that, the examiner gives you information about the financial performance by providing the statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, and the statement of cash flows. So in all these throughout the Preseen document, the examiner is talking about the past or what has happened in the past within the organization. But at your exam, relevant and latest information will be provided. Okay, so you need to have a good understanding about what has happened in the past to provide good answers considering the latest information which are provided at your examination. Okay, so that's exactly why you need to know your Preseen really well. As I told you earlier, there's absolutely nothing for you guys to worry. You just need to go through our annotated Preseen and watch the 4 pre-scene analysis videos. You need to go through the financial analysis slides and industry analysis slides. If you do these 4 activities, you'd know everything about the pre-scene. And on top of that, we will be providing some TikTok videos covering the entire pre-scene within 9 minutes. And I want you guys to, we will be releasing these videos in the coming days. So if you watch these TikTok videos on a daily basis, then you'd remember all the important information about the company. Okay, so please be on the lookout for these 3 videos. Keep watching them on a daily basis. Then you will never forget all the important information which is highlighted within the pre-scene. Okay, so having said that, let's look at what you need to do when it comes to referring to pre-scene information within your answers or bringing in information from the pre-scene. Okay, you are supposed to refer or cite in such a way that it adds value to your answer. So just because you bring in some information from the pre-scene, you won't get marks unless and otherwise what we have stipulated is relevant to the requirement. So let's assume there's a question about something like trend analysis. Okay, there's a question on trend analysis, but you mention about activity-based costing. You say that activity-based costing is not suitable to tax Europe. Why? Because their overheads are within the range of 20 to 37.5%. Okay, so the question is about trend analysis, but you are talking about activity-based costing. Yes, you are bringing in accurate information from the pre-scene. Within the pre-scene, it is stipulated that the overheads of the company range between 20% to 37.5%. So in such a context, activity-based costing cannot be implemented because there's not much of value which Trax Europe is going to gain by implementing activity-based costing when the overheads are not too prominent. But that information is not relevant to the question. If the question is on trend analysis, there's absolutely no point of talking about activity-based costing. Okay, so likewise, just because you bring in information, you're not going to get marks. Instead, whenever you are referring to the pre-scene, try to figure out whether it's relevant to the requirement and try to figure out whether it adds value to your answer. If that is not the case, please refrain from bringing in general information from the pre-scene. And do not force it in to show the marker that you have studied the pre-scene. You are not going to get marks. As I told you earlier, just because you bring in some information, if it's irrelevant, you are not going to get marks. In each and every task, if you try to bring in information unnecessarily from the pre-scene, you would end up losing marks. So in order to understand how to do this in a practical sense, I want you guys to attend the 3rd webinar, which is happening on next Saturday rather. So in that, I will be talking about how you can inculcate or how you can bring in information from the pre-scene when planning your answer. Okay, and you can also learn about how to bring in information from the pre-scene by referring to the suggested answers of mock exams. We have already developed 5 exam standard mock exams along with suggested answers. So once you go through these suggested answers, you'd understand how you're supposed to bring in information from the pre-scene. And on top of that, we are also providing the answer plans for all 5 mocks or answer summaries of all 5 mocks. Again, if you go through these answer summaries or answer plans, you are in a position to understand how pre-scene application needs to be tackled. Okay, so that's all about application of pre-scene information. And on top of that, since the OCS exam is a highly technical examination, predominantly the examiner is trying to figure out whether you have an appropriate level of understanding about syllabus content. So the examiner is trying to check whether you have an appropriate level of understanding about technical areas, especially pertaining to P1 and F1 syllabuses. E1 is not tested too much because there aren't so many things to be tested under E1, because everything which falls under E1 is linked with decision making. And as I told you earlier, as a finance officer, you are not supposed to be involved with decision making. Decision makers are at the strategic level, not at the operational level. So at the strategic level, when you are doing the strategic case study or SCS, then the E pillar is the most prominent area which is tested. Why? Because the E pillar has everything to do with decision making. However, since you are just at the lowest level of the organization, since you are just playing the role of a finance officer, you are not supposed to be involved with decision making. So the E pillar is not too relevant to you. Instead, you need to focus on P1 and F1, because your paper is going to be P1 and F1 heavy. Absolutely nothing to worry in these areas again, because within our 5 mocks, we have covered all questions or all syllabus areas pertaining to P1 and F1. If you attempt our mock exams under exam conditions, and if you go through our answer plans, if you do your revision properly, then you can easily pass your OCS exam. So prepare for application of theories and concepts. Definitely the technical areas will be tested. When it comes to F1 related areas or P1 related areas, you need not do any calculations. Instead, you are supposed to interpret figures and numbers. So for instance, if you look at an area such as variance analysis, those who are coming through the CIMA general route, within your OTQ exams, you need to do calculations when it comes to variance analysis. But at the case study level, you need not do any calculations. All calculations or the numbers or the figures will be provided within the question itself. You are supposed to explain or interpret the numbers provided. So if the sales price variance is adverse, you need to say as to why the sales price variance is adverse. Okay, you need to stipulate how the formula which needs to be used when calculating the sales price variance. Then talk about if it's adverse, why it is adverse. Then sales quantity variance, if it's adverse, why it is adverse, and whatnot. And on top of that, how to calculate the sales quantity variance. Likewise, you need not do any calculations. Instead, you are supposed to interpret the figures and numbers. Same applies to F1 related areas. So let's assume there's a question pertaining to IAS 16 property, plant and equipment. In that, you are not supposed to when let's assume you are supposed to calculate depreciation, you are not supposed to do a calculation. Instead, you need to explain how depreciation needs to be calculated. You need not do any calculations. You need to just explain the calculation, because all the figures will be provided within the question itself. You'd understand what I'm talking about in depth when you attend the third webinar. And on top of that, under our premium package, we are offering master classes, 12 pre-recorded master classes, where I'll be explaining the answers of mocks 3, 4, and 5. And on top of that, we'll be holding 2 live master classes as well. And within these 2 live master classes, I'll be explaining the answers of mocks 1 and 2, and thereby covering all 5 mocks. I'll be explaining the answers of all 5 mocks. And when I'm explaining these mocks, I'll be teaching you theory, as well as how I'll be highlighting how theory is applied in a real situation, or how theory needs to be applied to a real business situation. So I'll be covering theory as well as application. So especially if you're coming through the FLP route or an exemption route, since you had not done your E1, P1, and F1 related OTQ exams, you'll be most of the time what I've encountered is FLP students are clueless about how theory needs to be brought in to the answer, how to explain theory, and on top of that, how to apply theory or concepts within the answer, how to apply it to a real life question. So all these things are covered via our master classes. So as I told you earlier, we will be conducting 2 live master classes, and for the rest of the papers, mock exams, we are conducting, or we have already done pre-recorded videos. So prepare for interpretation of figures and numbers, and prepare for application of theories and concepts. All these things can be learned by attending our master classes. And when going through your syllabus areas, do not skip any topics, especially when it comes to F1 and P1. However, even if you feel that you do not have time to go through each syllabus in its entirety, that's totally fine, because we have covered the entire syllabus for the operational level via our 5 mock exams. So if you attempt our 5 mock exams, if you attend our master classes, and if you go through the answer plans, then you would learn theory, you would learn application, and if you replicate the same methodology at your real exam, you can easily pass the OCS exam. That's what our past students had told us as well. And do not rely on predictions, as any area can be examined. Yes, I'm not going to predict of any scenarios which can be tested at the exam. Absolutely no point of doing it. What you need to do is just go through the 5 mock exams, then you would cover the entire syllabus or all the concepts which can be tested. Other than that, the scenarios which will be thrown at you at the real exam could be a bit different, but there's absolutely nothing to worry. Just because the scenario is different, you need not worry, because if you had gone through all the concepts, if you had covered all concepts when practicing mock exams, then you can easily pass the examination. All right, then let's move on to the pre-scene analysis. Before we do that, any questions, folks? Do you have any questions pertaining to what I highlighted right now? You can, if you do, if you have any questions, you can simply switch on your mic and talk, or jot it down in the chat section so that I can address your concerns. All right, so seems like there aren't any questions, so I'm going to move on to the pre-scene analysis. So as I told you earlier, before I move on to the pre-scene, I'll be taking you through the industry analysis slides, not in its entirety, but certain aspects will be covered. Why am I doing it? Because by going through the industry analysis slides, you are in a position to better understand about the industry. Okay, you need not be an expert pertaining to the industry. However, it's better to have additional knowledge about the industry, and our industry analysis slides have been prepared considering real life industry dynamics. Remember, within the pre-scene, the examiner is giving you information about a fictitious company. So this is not a real company. Trax Europe is not a real company. It's a fictitious company. All right. However, within our industry analysis slides, we have only considered real life facts and figures, which with the intention of ensuring that you have an in-depth understanding about how the tractor manufacturing industry works in real life. And by understanding the real life dynamics within the industry, you would be in a position to realize that the information presented in the pre-scene is actually replicating what happens within the real industry. Okay, so that's the intention of the creation of these industry analysis slides. And when it comes to analyzing the industry, most students, they go through a lot of sources. They try to go through a lot of sources to figure out what actually happens within the industry. We've made your life easy. If you go through our industry analysis slides, you need not do any more research. Everything is covered. All relevant information is provided in a precise manner in here. So looking at the contents of our pre-scene analysis slides, it is divided into 4 main areas. First things first, an overview is presented about the industry. Then, information pertaining to the competitive landscape is provided. Then trends are highlighted. And two real world examples based on two real world companies are provided, with the intention of making sure that you better understand the nitty-gritties within the industry or the industry dynamics. So out of these four areas, I'm just gonna take you through the first part, which is the industry overview, and later on I'll be moving on to explaining the industry trends. So only two parts will be covered within this free session. All right. So let's look at the purpose of the industry analysis. You are required to be familiar with the industry, but need not be an industry expert, especially since you are playing the role of a finance officer. As I told you earlier, you are not involved with decision making. So in such a context, you need not be an expert about the industry on which your pre-scene is based. Actually, the purpose should be to develop a broader understanding about the industry in which the company operates, which will help you construct sound arguments and prepare for possible developments in the exam, especially by looking at or understanding the trends. You can prepare yourself with regards to the type of scenarios, or you can prepare yourself for the scenarios which can be thrown at you at the real exam. All right, so let's look at the market definition. Definition of the tractor market. A tractor is a vehicle which is usually available with one or two small wheels in front and two large wheels at the back. And tractors are used in the agricultural sector, construction sector, logistics, as well as landscaping. So when it comes to landscaping, you would see, smaller tractors. These come with grass cutters and whatnot. So these are smaller tractors, and suitable or easily maneuverable. You can easily drive them because these are usually used within households. Okay. However, when you look at larger tractors which are used for agriculture, construction, and logistics, things are a bit complicated, and you need to be really conversant to drive this type of tractor. And as you can see from the picture, there's a lot of technology usage within tractors these days. So there's the use of computers, technology such as telematics being used. Telematics technology is highlighted within your pre-scene as well. So what telematics does is it helps you keep track of the functionality of the tractor using artificial intelligence as well as sensors. And on top of that, you can track about the fuel usage, whether certain parts need to be replaced, okay, and whether you need to replace your tires, whether there are any issues within the tractor, and how long have you used the tractor for, how long are you supposed to can you use it before you go for any maintenance services. All these things are tracked using sensors and AI via telematics technology. And most of the tractors, big agricultural as well as construction based tractors, are extremely comfortable. They come with air conditioned cabins, and on top of that, comfortable seating arrangements. And there are driverless tractors which are being introduced into the market recently as well. So you need not have drivers anymore. So these driverless tractors run on artificial intelligence. So these are the type of trends which can happen in the long run, or which will pick up demand, or where the demand will increase in the future. So talking about Trax Europe, what you need to remember is Trax Europe is only involved with manufacturing and selling agricultural tractors, or tractors used for agriculture, nothing else. We are only manufacturing tractors which are used for agriculture. All right. Then I'm not going to take you through these things. I said that I'm going to talk about industry trends. So there's a lot of innovation happening within this industry. As I told you earlier, there are driverless autonomous tractors coming into the picture. And on top of that, farmers are asking for tractors which run on alternative energy with the intention of reducing their energy bills. because agriculture or farming had become a bit expensive, especially after COVID-19. Because after COVID-19, the entire world has experienced, some type of inflation, especially inflation pertaining to raw material. So, in such a context, farmers are trying to reduce their costs by embracing alternative energy. And on top of that, younger farmers are looking for sustainable alternatives. Okay, so there are electric powered tractors coming into the picture, gas powered tractors, as well as hydrogen powered tractors. Although out of these three options, hydrogen powered tractors are not too sought after, because it's still in its R&D stage. Okay, hydrogen powered tractors, some tractors are there, but it's still in its R&D stage, and they are not too efficient as electric powered or gas powered tractors. Okay, and there's a lot of government support and subsidies being provided to the agricultural sector. So, if you take the United States, they are trying to provide a lot of subsidies to farmers. So because of that, farmers can invest on tractors, and whenever farmers are going for a lease agreement when purchasing a tractor, or going for a loan when investing on tractors and related equipment, they can get things done easily, because they can seek funds easily from banks, because there's a lot of subsidies being provided by the US government, where they are providing low interest loans if you are investing on agricultural equipment. You can see a similar scenario within Asia as well. Especially the Chinese government is providing a lot of subsidies to the agricultural sector, with the intention of improving the level of automation within the industry. Okay, so Chinese farmers used to farm or engage in traditional farming practices, but the Chinese government is operating with the intention of revolutionizing agricultural produce or farming by bringing in automation. Okay, so there's a lot of government support and subsidies within this industry, which is actually driving the demand for tractors as well as related equipment. And looking at the demand drivers, automation, as I told you earlier, is driving demand, because higher the amount of automation, lower the operations related costs, and energy efficiency based innovations are there. So whenever there's energy efficiency, your production costs would come down, and there's growth in demand for less than 40 horsepower tractors in Asia and Africa. Why? Because the mostly in the Asian and African regions, farmers are not wealthy as the farmers in Europe and America. So because of that, they opt for smaller models when it comes to tractors. And on top of, mainly because of affordability. And on top of that, most of the farmlands are relatively smaller compared to that of European and American farmland. So with that, there is a growth in demand for smaller tractors within Asia and Africa, and governments in emerging markets are providing farm equipment at low interest rates, just like what I said about what happens within USA and China. The same is happening within emerging markets, and governments in developed countries are providing funds to improve automation to address agricultural labor shortages. So although there's no such labor shortage within the Asian and African markets, especially in European and American markets, you see a labor shortage when it comes to the agricultural sector. Why is this the case? Let's take America or USA as an example. US agriculture, when you consider the agricultural sector within the USA, it was dominated by Mexican laborers or immigrants. However, after Donald Trump came into power, he brought in certain reforms to laws which restricted the influx of immigrants into the country. So when the immigrants stopped coming into the USA, it affected the agricultural sector in an extremely adverse manner, and especially after COVID-19, because of restrictions in labor movement, it affected the agricultural sector negatively. So agricultural sector has everything to do with food security of a country. So since the US legislators are really concerned about the lack of food security because of lack of laborers or labor shortage within the industry, they are helping farmers to pursue automation as much as possible. Okay, so these are the trends which are uh, changing the industry dynamics. So by understanding these things, you can easily predict the type of scenarios which can be thrown at you at the real exam. And as I told you earlier, real world examples are also provided. So John Deere and Kubota, based on these two companies, we have conducted our industry analysis. All right, so any questions, folks? Any questions before we move forward to the Preseen, the much awaited area of or activity of tonight's webinar? Any questions before we move on to the Preseen analysis? All right, since there aren't any questions, I'm gonna move on to the pre-scene analysis. So I'm gonna conduct the pre-scene analysis based on the pre-scene analysis, based on the annotated pre-scene which I've prepared, okay? So this is the pre-scene which is relevant for May and August 2023. And as I told you earlier, the pre-scene is based on company known as Trax Europe. Okay, so first things first, the examiner is highlighting about your role. You are supposed to play the role of a finance officer working within the finance department of Trax Europe. So let's look at the roles of a finance officer. Uh, a finance officer operates with a short-term focus. As I told you earlier, you are involved with the day-to-day running of the company. So you need not think about the long term. Instead, your focus is in the short term. So that's exactly why you are involved with budgeting, variance analysis. You need to be conversant with costing, digital costing included. Both you need to be conversant with both traditional as well as modern or digital costing. You have to be involved with working capital management. So you need to have a good understanding about what receivable days, payable days, and inventory days mean, and the connection between these three areas with cash as well as revenues. Okay, and you have to be involved with short-term risk management as well, because as per your P1 syllabus, a high level of prominence is provided for short-term risk management. You have to be conversant about these things, and rather than arriving at decisions, you are supposed to assist with decision making. So you are supposed to report to your finance manager, and whenever the finance manager is asking for your opinion, you are supposed to provide it. And when it comes to decision making, it's mainly with regards to recommending key performance indicators or KPIs. Okay, so when it comes to budgeting, you need to know about the theoretical elements about budgeting, different types of budgets, incremental budgets or traditional budgets, rolling budgets, then zero-based budgets, activity-based budgets, all these things, the theoretical concepts, as well as you need to know the pros and cons of each type of budgeting. And you need to have an understanding about how to implement each and every budget, and whether it's applicable to, or whether each type of a budget is applicable or relevant to Trax Europe. Okay, and when it comes to variance analysis, as I told you earlier, you need to have the ability to explain the numbers provided, interpret the numbers provided, and on top of that, you need to remember the formulas of each and every variance. And when it comes to costing, you need to know what marginal costing is, absorption costing, throughput costing, then activity-based costing, the conceptual frameworks of each costing method, and on top of that, the advantages and disadvantages of each costing method, and how each costing method is applicable to your company. Okay, and you need to know about digital costing, the pros and cons of it, and how it adds value if applied to Trax Europe, how digital costing adds value. So likewise, you need to be conversant about all these areas mainly as a finance officer. And absolutely, there's absolutely nothing to worry in this area. We have covered all these areas within our mock exams. So if you attempt our mock exams and do your revision properly based on the answer plans which we have developed, and if you attend our master classes, you'll be champions in these areas. Okay, then let's look at the company background. The company, Trax Europe, manufactures and sells tractors used for agricultural purposes. So as I told you earlier, within our industry analysis slides, tractors are used for multiple purposes. However, Trax Europe is only involved with manufacturing tractors which are used for agricultural purposes. And we are a manufacturer and seller of tractors. Okay, we manufacture our tractors as well as sell them. So based on this information, the probable areas which can be tested are with regards to standard costing, costing methods, and cost volume profit analysis or break-even analysis. Okay, and since we are manufacturing multiple products, multi-product break-even related questions will be thrown at you. But as I told you earlier, absolutely nothing to worry. We have covered these areas within our mock exams. And the company is based in a country called Thailand, a country which is based in Europe, and it has T dollars as its functional currency. And the tractors are manufactured at the company's production facility in Thailand and sold throughout Europe. So we are manufacturing our tractors within one single location within Thailand itself. However, when it comes to sales, we are selling throughout Europe. And Trax Europe is a wholly owned subsidiary of Agri, a leading global manufacturer and seller of a range of agricultural equipment. Okay, so our mother company is Agri, which is a global leader within the industry. And the company had been in operation since 1860. So we had been operating for the past 163 years, which signifies that Agri has a lot of industry expertise, which is an extreme strength for us as a company as well. So what you need to remember is Agri is our mother company and we are under them. And Agri is a global leader when it comes to manufacturing agricultural equipment, and they manufacture tractors, combine harvesters, trailers, and plows. Okay. And Agri has numerous subsidiaries. We are not the only subsidiary under Agri. It has many subsidiaries. Some of these subsidiaries manufacture and sell finished products such as tractors, harvesters, trailers, and farming implements, and some of which make components and sub-assemblies. So Agri is into manufacturing finished goods or finished tractors, and on top of that, they are into manufacturing components and sub assemblies as well. And if you go through the third Preseen analysis video, then you'd understand that we are purchasing, Trax Europe is purchasing the tractor cabs. The cab is where the driver is seated. Okay, so tractor cabs, we are purchasing our tractor cabs from one of the subsidiaries of Agri. Okay, so as I told you earlier, Agri is into manufacturing finished tractors as well as they produce components and sub-assemblies. So a component, the tractor cab, is purchased from one of Agri's subsidiaries. And there are only two subsidiaries which manufacture and sell tractors, Trax Europe and Trax America. So when it comes to manufacturing tractors within Europe, it's handled by Trax Europe. And when it comes to manufacturing tractors within America, it's done by Trax America. And Trax Europe was set up in 1960. So we have market exposure which amounts to 63 years, which is a significant strength. We are in a position to understand the market dynamics better than a company which had started recently. And Trax Europe does not sell directly to the end users of its tractors, who are mostly farmers. Okay, so we are not selling directly to farmers. Instead, sales are made to dealers throughout Europe. So, how does sales happen? We are selling to dealers, and dealers sell our tractors to farmers. Okay, so when it comes to sales, there are B2B relationships. It's not B2C, it's not business to customer. Instead, it's B2B, business to business. And in such a context, when we are pursuing B2B relationships, it's better to have collaborative relationships with dealers. What are collaborative relationships? These are the type of relationships which uh, brings forth win-win situations. So the dealer is winning, at the same time us as a company is winning. That is known as a collaborative relationship. So in a collaborative relationship, there's a lot of knowledge sharing between us and the dealer. And on top of that, we are trying to create a lot of value and share that value with the dealer. And if the dealer is creating some type of value, they would in return share that value with us as well. Okay, and there's you need to have open communication and a lot of information and knowledge sharing for a collaborative relationship to work in practice. So based on this information, I've highlighted the probable areas which can be tested. Please be prepared to recommend KPIs for sales teams, as well as recommend KPIs for dealers. Again, these two areas are covered within our mock exams. And when it comes to manufacturing, as I told you earlier, as presented earlier within the pre-scene, all type of manufacturing happens within Teelan, and it's 100% in-house manufacturing. So based on this information, I've not mentioned it in here, but there could be a question about outsourcing, where the company thinks about the option of outsourcing. So that's a make or buy decision. You should have learned these things under P1. If not, nothing to worry. We have covered this area within one of our mocks. If I'm not mistaken, this is covered within mock number 5, task 3 or 4. Okay, so I've prepared a question based on a make or buy a decision. So the examiner is actually throwing a hint at you, saying that manufacturing is 100% in-house. So definitely there could be a question about outsourcing as well. And if you attempt mock 5, you'd know what type of an answer you are supposed to provide. And Trax Europe buys in raw material, parts, components, and sub-assemblies from a variety of suppliers, including other group companies. As I told you earlier, our tractor cabs are purchased from one of the subsidiaries of our mother company, Agri. Okay, and when it comes to sourcing, multiple sourcing is pursued. We are purchasing from a multitude of suppliers and sources from Agri Group and third-party suppliers. Okay, and when it comes to sourcing strategies, or what we do with regards to sourcing, it's covered in the third video or third pre-scene analysis video, where I'll be taking you through the information about what happens within the company, thereby looking at what happens within each and every department. Under that, I'll be covering about supplier relationships or supply chain management strategies which the company adopts. Okay, so we have manufactured and sold 31,000 odd tractors, generated revenues amounting to $2.9 million, 2.9 billion, and our gross margin is somewhere around 26%, and our operating margin is somewhere around 9%, and we have 4,000 odd employees. You need not remember any of these numbers. Why? Because at the exam, these type of information is not tested. And on top of that, if you want, if there's some type of relevant information which you cannot remember, you can easily refer back to the pre-scene, because there's a button within your exam platform, and when you click the button, you can access the pre-scene then and there. All right, so I'm not going to talk about the tractor industry because that's highlighted within the second pre-scene analysis video. So let's look at what type of tractors we manufacture, our tractor range. TE's tractor range or Trax Europe's tractor range comprises of three main types of products: basic, regular, and premium. Basic tractors are the smallest tractors, and they come with the lowest type of power. So under the basic model we have three different tractors which we manufacture: A range, A plus power range, and A double plus power range. You need not remember the horsepowers and whatnot, the weight of each and every tractor. You just need to remember the information which I've provided as annotations. And under the regular category, again, A plus, and A double plus powered tractors are there. These are medium powered and medium sized tractors, but they come with AC cabins and rear cameras, which assists with easier driving. And the premium tractors are large and powerful ones. They are extremely comfortable, and they are technically superior. So I was talking about adoption of telematics technology and whatnot, and adoption of artificial intelligence, as well as utilizing a lot of sensors to keep track of the performance of the tractor, as well as all these technologies are used to improve the performance as well as the comfort levels of the driver. So these are the premium tractors, and all in all, Trax Europe sells 9 different tractors. Okay, so that's that. Okay, I've highlighted information pertaining to these areas. And let's look at the type of leadership within the company. So we have a managing director, a production director, a product development director, sales and distribution director, HR director, a finance director, and an IT director. You need not remember all these nitty-gritties about what type of experience each director has, what type of qualifications they have when they join the board of the company. All these things are irrelevant to your paper. Instead, you need to remember these things which I've highlighted as a notation. So all our directors are experienced in their separate fields, and they are qualified as well. They have worked within, let's for instance, if you look at the production director, this guy had been in working within different companies and involved with production related activities for a long period of time. So likewise, all directors are experienced and qualified, and directors emphasize on innovation in engine design, use of alternative energy when designing tractors as well as manufacturing tractors, total quality management or TQM, or achieving quality at all levels, and achieving quality when carrying out all types of activities. The HR director is extremely concerned about employee welfare and safety, and the product development director is involved with embracing smart technology such as artificial intelligence, AI, and whatnot. And the IT director is involved with improving the use of IT as well as systems within the company. And the sales and distribution director is extremely keen about increasing the dealer network, thereby increasing our sales. So as I told you earlier, we are not selling directly to the end consumer, which are the farmers. Instead, we are selling to dealers. So if we are to increase our sales, we have to increase our dealer network. Okay. So based on all these information, E1 related areas pertaining to ethics can be tested. So you need to be conversant with COPPI and how a COPPI can be applied to an exam situation or applied to a scenario presented within the question. You'd learn how to do this when you go through our mock exams. I hope you know what COPPI means. It means confidentiality, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior, as well as integrity. So these are the ethics related areas. And digital and social media marketing, how it works and how it would add value to this company. Big data and AI, use of these technologies within the company. supply chain management, the type of relationships, whether we need to pursue a competitive relationship with our suppliers or a collaborative relationship. It's better to go for a collaborative relationship. If that is the case, we can ensure that the suppliers believe in the quality which we try to achieve, and you need to be conversant with TQM as well. And P1 related areas pertaining to the CGMA cost transformation model, it will definitely be tested at your exam, and digital costing needs to be, you need to be thorough in these areas. Again, we have covered most of these areas within the mock exams which we have developed. Okay, so then let me talk about how our management teams work. Uh, all our management teams are functionally structured. This is typical of a manufacturing firm. Okay, so under the sales and distribution director, there are three different sales senior managers handling sales which occur within three regions in which we operate. Okay, so there's a separate sales senior sales manager for Teeland, or about with regards to the type of sales activities which occur within our mother country. And on top of that, there's a separate sales senior manager for Southern Europe and Northern Europe. Okay. And looking at the finance function, it's headed by the finance director, Carl Lomas, and you are reporting to the finance manager, Ben Scholz. Important to remember the FDs and FMs names because they'll be thrown at you frequently at your exam, and your role is that of a finance officer. There are four more finance officers just like you, and there are seven finance assistants under you. Okay, and looking at the production department, there's a production director, and under the production director, there are separate senior managers. One of them is looking into procurement because we are dealing with a lot of suppliers. So in such a context, it's better to have a separate, manager, senior manager looking at procurement, and there's a senior manager handling warehouse because there's a lot of assembly going on. After each component is assembled, you need to keep it within a warehouse. You need to manage your raw material which comes into the warehouse. Your finished goods will be kept within the warehouse as well before it is shipped, or before it is transported to each dealer. So there's a separate manager, senior manager rather, who looks into warehouse operations. And there's a senior manager who looks into production. And under the production department, there are five different activities happening within the production department. There are three assembly operations happening: engine assembly, chassis assembly, and main assembly. And on top of that, body panel production and testing occurs as well. So that's exactly what I've highlighted here. So within engine assembly, we are assembling our engines. Chassis assembly, that's where we manufacture the chassis and fix the chassis to our engine. And body production is highly automated. All these nitty-gritties are highlighted within the third Preseen analysis video. So body production is highly automated. Main assembly is where we put all these components together, and within the testing department, before we finalize each product or send it across to our dealers, we test each tractor to ensure that it's up to the required level of quality. So out of these production departments, engine assembly is labor intensive, chassis assembly is labor intensive, and so is main assembly. And when it comes, testing is labor intensive as well. But when it comes to body production, it's capital intensive. There's a lot of automation, and we have invested on new machines 2 years back. All these things will be highlighted within the third Preseen analysis video. All right, so having said that, that's it for the first part of the Preseen analysis. Any questions, folks? I hope you guys gained a good understanding about the industry dynamics as well as an overview about the company, Tracks Europe. Any questions? All right, thank you for your feedback. So seems like there aren't any questions. If there are any, please do mention it in the chat section so that towards the closure of this webinar, I can address them. Okay. Right. So let me talk about what we offer at TCS. So we are in the OCS page of our website, which is www.studyatTCS.com. And, you can access the free content now. We are yet to upload all the material because we wanted to wait until the webinar is done. So by tomorrow morning, you will get all the free content on the website. So I invite you guys to go check them out, where you'd get your hands on the recorded versions of the webinars, and on top of that, uh, you'll get your hands on a mini mock and the suggested answer. And later on, once the third webinar answering technique is done, you'll get your hands on a document which highlights what you need to do when it comes to developing answers, or the technique you need to stick to, the time management plan, as well as answer planning technique you need to stick to when developing your answer. So all these things are provided under the free content, and you can also gain an understanding about the type of material which we provide by going through our sample material. So let me talk about the three types of products which we are offering. Um, Comes under three categories: product categories: essential, value, and premium. Under the essential pack, you'd get your hands on the recorded versions of the four webinars, five mock exams with suggested answers, and four pre-scene analysis videos. So just like what I did today, I did the first part of the pre-scene analysis sessions. There are three more remaining videos. You can get your hands on all four if you invest on the essential pack, and it comes with a price of 99 pounds. And if you had aced your OTQ exams, if you're coming through the CIMA general route, and if you had aced your OTQ exams, gotten really good marks for all three OTQ exams, then you can, and if you're extremely comfortable with self-learning, you can simply invest on this package. Then looking at the value pack, it comes with the recorded versions of the four webinars, five mock exams and suggested answers, four pre-scene videos, pre-scene analysis videos. And on top of that, you'd get your hands on the annotated pre-scene. You saw what the annotated pre-scene looks like. So if you go through the annotations, uh, that's what's necessary. You need not remember anything else, okay? Because I've summarized all the information. And on top of that, as you saw earlier, within the annotations, I've highlighted the probable areas which can be tested. So if you go through these annotations and focus on these areas, then you can easily predict what type of questions will be thrown at you at the real exam. And you'd get your hands on the industry analysis cards, just like what you saw a while back. And financial analysis cards, let me show you what the financial analysis cards look like. Yeah, so these are the type of financial analysis slides or cards you'd get your hands on. So based on the SOPL, I've conducted horizontal analysis. Please remember that this is not based on this time's pre-scene. This is based on a previous pre-scene. So the same methodology has been adopted this time as well. So the based on the SOPL, horizontal analysis has been conducted, thereby calculating the percentage change between 2 years. And the main points pertinent to each area are highlighted in an extremely concise yet understandable manner. The same had been done for the statement of financial position or the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows as well. Then I've also conducted a ratio analysis, thereby looking at different types of ratios, four main types of ratios. Again, calculations had been done and the difference is mentioned. And for each and every ratio, an in-depth evaluation is provided in an extremely understandable manner. So I've explained as to why each ratio or why what the numbers depict, and based on that what we can understand about the company's performance, gearing and liquidity, all these different types of ratios and information or evaluations about each ratio had been provided. Okay, so these are the ratio analysis slides and financial analysis cards or slides, and you can get your hands on the top 10 issues slides, and on top of that the OCS case study familiarization kit, and you can access the tutor managed live chat via Twilio. So I'll be on this chat for something like 12 to 18 hours a day. So if you have any concern or question, if you want to clarify a doubt, you can simply um, type your question within Twilio, and I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. And you'd get your hands on the theory recap slides pertaining to E1, F1, and P1 related theoretical areas. So the price is £199, and if you had again, if you're coming through the CIMA general route, and even though if you have not gotten really good marks, if you failed your OTQ exams, still, if you feel that you can do your own revision, if you feel that you can go through the suggested answers of mock exams, and after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you can compare it to your answer and understand your shortcomings on your own, then please opt for this product, which is priced at £199. And the premium package comes with everything which I spoke under the value pack, plus it comes with access to the online mock exam platform or the learning management system. So when attempting the 5 mock exams, I urge you guys to attempt it via our mock exam platform, which is developed akin to the Pearson VUE system. So when attempting mock exams, you just need to sit in one place, find 3 hours at a stretch, sit in one place and attempt mocks on a weekly basis. And by doing this, you are practicing, or you are getting accustomed to real life exam conditions, which is going to be extremely beneficial for you at the exam. So rather than attempting a mock exam within an exam platform for the first time in your life at the real exam, it's better to practice all 5 mocks under exam conditions within a similar exam platform. So it comes within the premium package, and we are offering professional marketing and one-to-one tutor feedback on mocks 3, 4, and 5. And let me show you the type of feedback we provide. Yeah, so as you can see, for each and every paragraph, in-depth evaluations have been provided throughout the entire answer script. And on top of that, at the very end, mark allocations are provided for each and every area, and we are mentioning the success rate under each and every subtask, so that you are in a position to understand, really understand where you stand, and how much marks you gain. But just by looking at the total mark, you are not in a position to say what type of shortcomings are there, or in which subtasks you fell short of the threshold. But if you look at the success rate, by looking at the success rate, you can easily understand where you had gone wrong and what you need to get right, or in which areas you need to polish up your answer. So as you can see in task 2B, the marks are not too good, 26%. So the student needs to brush up in this area. And task 3A, marks aren't good. And in task 4A, marks aren't good. But in all the other areas, the student had done well. And at the very end, we are providing general comments as well, so that the student can learn about the mistakes and avoid these mistakes in the future. So that's the type of professional marking and tutor feedback you'd get. And we are providing answer plans of all 5 mocks. So you need not summarize the suggested answers. We have done it for you under the premium package, which comes in handy closer to the exam. And we are conducting 12 master classes explaining answers of all mocks. So under these 12 master classes, which are pre-recorded, I'll be explaining the answers of mocks 3 to 5. And in these explanations, I'll be covering theory, teaching you theory, as well as highlighting how to apply theory in your answers. And there are 7 tutor-led weekly webinars and workshops. And you have the option of paying in installments. And this package comes with a pass guarantee. What is a pass guarantee? After using the premium package, if you end up failing the exam, which is highly unlikely, but still, if you end up failing the exam, you'd get access to the same package free of charge in the subsequent sitting. Okay, and this is priced at the first installment is priced at £49, and there are 2 more installments. So all in all, you have to pay for this package across 3 months. So the first installment, for the first installment, we are providing a 50% discount. This used to be £99, but we are selling it at £49, and pay the balance of £450 in 2 monthly installments. And all products are available until the 31st of August 2023. And let me remind you about the study plan as well. So we are in the first week. You have already done this. You have attended the Preseen analysis session. So you are expected to watch the 4 Preseen analysis videos within this week. Refer to the annotated Preseen and refer to financial analysis, industry analysis, and top 10 issue slides, and attempt mock number 1 via the exam platform. Okay. So out of all these things, the hardest thing to do is to attempt the first mock. So you need to find 3 hours, sit in one place and attempt the entire mock in one go. And after you are done with it, next week, you are supposed to attend the 3rd webinar pertaining to answering technique. And once I've taught you the answering technique, you will be in a position to understand by yourself where you had gone wrong and what type of shortcomings you have when it comes to developing answers. So that's exactly why I want you guys to attempt the first mock before attending the 3rd webinar, which is happening in the upcoming week. Okay, so that's the study plan for this week, and I hope you guys would attend the 3rd webinar, which is happening next week. Any questions? Any questions, folks? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So let me remind you about the 50% discount. We are offering an OCS early bird discount on the first installment of the premium package. So as I told you earlier, used to be £99, but you can get it for £49, the first installment. And if you want to contact us, you can do so via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or simply email us or WhatsApp us on this number. I hope you guys are part and parcel of the OCS WhatsApp group. If you're not yet part of it, please go on to our website and simply click on this button and join our tutor-led OCS WhatsApp group. And follow us on, we invite you to follow us on our social media handles. And on top of that, you can simply visit our website, click on this button, and check out our blog posts. And within these blog posts, we have highlighted the technical areas which you need to get right. Okay, you can read all these articles to better understand the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to your exam. And expect the TikTok videos hopefully by Sunday. Or yeah, hopefully by Sunday, I will be releasing the first video out of the 3 videos where under these TikTok videos, we are summarizing the entire Preseen within just 9 minutes. All right. So having said that, thank you very much for joining in. I hope you'll start preparations now itself rather than waiting until the end, because if you stick to our study plan and if you use our material, you can pass for sure in the first sitting. So if you're doing your exam in May, even if you're doing it in August, you can invest right now and start preparations. If you're doing it in May, it's of utmost importance that you start right now. Do not wait until the last moment. Okay. So thank you very much for joining in. I expect to see you guys next Saturday, where I'll be teaching you answer planning technique. Thank you and good night.